Welcome back to the Becoming More podcast, episode number 32. Here at Becoming More, we go in depth talking to some amazing people about how they have changed their lives dramatically and have inspired others to work towards the same. Today, I'm joined by a special guest. He has an incredible story going from working 3 intensive jobs to living his dream, and then found himself tipping scales over 300 pounds. As in his website says, if you have ears, you have heard our guest at some point in your life, from commercials to promos to cartoons. Well, you name it. He has been there and said that. He's the epic voice of the Emmy-nominated Honest Trailers. He voices Optimus Prime in Transformers Combiner Wars. He's also contributed to XCOM, Dishonored 2, Marvel, V Capcom Infinite, Halo Wars, and many more. He's a man and voice behind epicvoiceguy.com and Epic Voice Guy on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please welcome our guest today, Jon Bailey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today, Jon?
Pretty good, man.
Glad to hear it. I know you're a busy guy, so I like to get right into the episode and say, I would ask everybody, what is the bottom line of your journey so far? Because Jon said so.
Yeah, so it's pretty much down 155 pounds. So it's my heaviest.
That's amazing. As someone who's lost similar, I mean, I know the work and dedication it takes. So congratulations to you on making that change.
Thank you very much.
So I like to ask everybody as we get into the show, like kind of like background, because I feel like your background growing up has a lot to do with where you get to weight wise at some point. So like, growing up, were you like a heavy kid? Were you into athletics? Did you have any experience that led to like a gain, or was it just like a slow progression over time?
I was a pretty skinny kid up until I was about 10. And I played a lot of soccer and basketball, whatever sports we could get into. I did a lot of bike riding. But I started gaining weight when I was 10 because I was constantly being bullied in school and just ate my feelings and stayed away from people. And mom was one of those comfort food folks. So was grandmother. So anytime I was over there, it was snack, 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 sugar, sugar, sugar. It's so funny because I'm not even into sweets now in my life. But back then it was just all sweets and it was all snacks and sweets. It was Little Debbie, it was Hostess. It was, sugar, ice cream, soda, lots of soda, man. Soda's evil.
Yeah.
But then I lost weight again in high school and started really taking my weight seriously because I just got sick of being called fat boy and got sick of being made fun of and sick of girls just like treating me like I was a piece of lava, and that coming anywhere near me, my fat might rub off on them and they might catch it. So I started working out really hard, but I didn't know what I was doing. And unfortunately, I got into diet pills that would, keep you from being hungry. And I ended up with an eating disorder where I was just starving myself, except for a handful of oyster crackers a day and nothing but water. But I did lose down to 170 pounds or so. But my muscles were all out of proportion and it wasn't healthy. And then when I started working at Steak and Shake after I got out of high school, and that was just another situation where I was like, oh, well, you can have all this free food that they drove off without, and I was just eating just junk food all day, every day. And there's a reason why I don't eat at drive-thrus anymore. It's all completely unhealthy. In order to make something healthy, you have to change so much about it, you might as well not even go. And then I got married, and then stopped trying to keep up with my appearance because I was so busy with work. And like you said, I was working 3 jobs. I was working full-time during the day at one forklift job and full-time at night at another forklift job. And I was working as a kitchen manager at Steak and Shake on the weekends. So I was just every minute of every day, I wasn't getting good night's sleep. I wasn't eating. When I was eating, it was always fast food, which is junk, which was red meat and cheese and bread, and bacon. And then I got into a situation that I really won't go into until the divorce is completely settled with. But again, just ate my emotions, waved a red flag, and just can't beat them, join them kind of situation. And I slowly gained from when I first got married up to 335 pounds. And by June of, I guess it was June of 2007. And then 2007 was the first time I really took my health seriously, and I really buckled down. I dieted hard. I quit everything cold turkey. I dieted hardcore. I would do salads with no dressing. I would leave off the cheese, leave off the bacon, anything that was not good for me. And I quit drinking soda. And when I was in college and when I was a younger married guy with younger children, I was drinking probably 3 liters or more of soda a day. And I would have a bacon cheeseburger instead of having fries because, fries are bad for you. I'd have a junior bacon cheeseburger for my side item instead of a fry. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How ironically funny is that? This fries are bad for you, but I'll have a smaller cheeseburger.
I've heard that logic a lot, and I'm always like, it seems okay because like you're like, well, it's protein instead of having all the carbs, but then like you forget like
Yeah,
the
all that
bun, like
fried
the bun and all the
creatine.
friedness. Yeah.
In reality, you can have up to 15 fries at a time. Just don't have them all the time, and make sure you're not having giant steak fries. Just a little normal fry.
Hmm.
It really is all about moderation and making better substitutes for the foods that you eat. I can have a bacon cheeseburger if I use cauliflower bread, non meat, like Beyond Meat or something for the patty, vegan cheese for the cheese, a vegan version of, diet version of sauce, because they make sugar-free, fat-free honey mustard, things that you can put on a burger without worrying about the sugar, because ketchup is made out of sugar, guys. Mayonnaise is
Yeah.
made out of fat. So I had to start making better choices, and I can still add the lettuce and tomato, and I can use a fake, vegan bacon instead. And I know a lot of it sounds vegan, but it really is just making healthier substitutes for the things you normally eat, to the point of not doing it anymore. And that's like, last time I had a burger, I can't even remember the last time I had a burger. So even a diet one, and I've just gotten better at having more vegetables and more things that are not full of starch, like potatoes. But I got down to 189 pounds from that year to the next. And then a situation personally between a very close family member of I took place, and I took it to heart very, very badly. And I said, you know what, fine, I quit. And I started doing everything back again. And I went from 189 all the way back up to 313. And that's where and it was only 30, it was barely even 15 pounds shy of where I was at my worst.
Hmm.
And then a similar situation happened a few years later. I got back into a gym. I became friends with a guy who was a manager at a gym, because we known each other from pop culture conventions. So it was easier working out with somebody I knew rather than a stranger at a gym,
Hmm.
And I got down to like 230. I was able to get on the Universal Studios rides without the red light going off on the seat. And then when I finally transitioned my entire family here and brought my family over here, some of the problems that were in our family kind of came along with us, and I got right back into bad habits again, was not working out regularly again, and went right back to the weight. And got back up to like 280 something. So it's been a lot like other people's stories, where it was up and down and up and down, but it was really, really down and then really, really up. You know what I mean? Not a
Hmm.
little bit up. But then the last time when I got up to like in the 280s, so 283 is where I started at last time I checked. Last June in 2021, I was 283. That's what the scale said. And as of this morning, I weigh in every Tuesday. I am now 182. So I lost 100 pounds just since June. But for my very heaviest, it's been 155.
Well, that's
So,
amazing. I mean, in
so
what,
yeah.
7 months, another
Yeah,
100.
for
Yeah.
7 months, I lost 100 pounds, and it was just from like I knew all along what it was to do, but I no longer had the negative barrier in front of me to keep me eating badly and keep me from working. I was like, you know what, I know what to do, and now that I have an opportunity, I'm going to prove that I know what I'm doing, and then I can do this. And I just stuck to it. I really it's all it really was. Everybody thinks there's some kind of magical secret, there's some kind of diet pill or plan, and I'm sticking to. I just went hiking, guys. I just hiked for 1 to 3 hours a day, and I said, you know what, instead of having a bacon cheeseburger, I'm going to have Brussels sprouts and some bone broth soup instead.
Hmm.
And I can just keep your system clean, put foods in there that don't stay in there forever, and don't put foods in there that jam up your system or that put weight on. So I avoided the red meat. I avoided pork and beef. I avoided fried foods. I avoided starchy vegetables like potatoes and peas and corn and English peas and black-eyed peas, and started eating, beans that were high in protein, you know what I mean? And started having lots of green vegetables, green beans, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, things like cauliflower, spinach, cabbage. Those things go through your system very fast, and you can eat a lot of it and not feel bad about it. Your stomach gets full. And no, it's not the most best tasting foods ever, but I literally had to pose the question: what do I care more about, how my food tastes or how healthy I am? Because I was getting to the point where my family's got tons of diabetes, it's got high blood pressure in it, heart attacks, strokes, you name it. And it would have killed me at any kind of heart issue at 335 pounds. A guy that I know in a voiceover community, he died at my age now, last year, because of his health and his weight. And it was a real eye opener. In fact, the one time I went when I was at 200, when I was at 313 pounds, I'd gone to a diet clinic to get one of the B12 shots to kind of kickstart my goal and get him back in shape again. And they had to do an EKG in order to approve you for the medication. And she said, have you had a heart attack? And I'm like, I'm 35. And she's like, well, there's clearly something on there. Maybe it was a heart murmurs, but something showed up on your EKG and you need to be careful. We think you're okay for the B12 shot. But that was scary for me. I didn't even know I'd had a heart thing. And at 35, and that was
Yeah.
just a bad, I mean, that's what's way too early. And it's not
Yeah,
about,
I hear you because like I had my own scare at like 33, and it just scared the absolute crap out of me.
so yeah, I had to put my health first. It wasn't about being attractive to people. It wasn't about, looking good for myself in the mirror, which, I mean, all those things happen, with when you do better with yourself. But it was really more, I need to get myself in the best shape possible to survive long enough to keep taking care of my family, because I'm the only income coming in. And even though I'm not going to be together with my ex-wife anymore, I still have kids to take care of, and they're always going to be my top priority, which is the only reason why I'm doing this career in the first place, is to be able to take good care of them. So I can't do that if I'm not healthy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you look at people, you see, I mean, we all saw that Betty White just passed away a couple weeks ago, right? And she lived to be 99, and like at 300, 400, whatever pounds somebody is, you're not going to live to be 99 at that weight.
No, you will not.
No. So
the pure amount of garbage and the kind of like plastics that are in our system from the kind of food that we eat and how we eat it, and the containers that we warm our food up in, and the plastic forks that we eat our food with. There's so many toxic things in our bodies. It's scary.
Yeah. I mean, even like, how many people drink plastic bottles of water every day too, right? Like dozens and dozens of bottles. I try my best to use my filter in my refrigerator, but it goes so slow. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm
guilty of it too. Yeah. I know I'm putting toxic things in my body with styrofoam cups and plastic bottles, but sometimes it's still better than having soda. But eventually, you've got to get to the point where you're trying to eat and drink things that are the healthiest possible. Because it really is all down to, what do you really want? What do you, as an individual, what do you want? Do you want a quick fix because it doesn't exist? Do you want to look better and be healthy, or do you just want to keep on giving yourself what you like? Because it's all a matter of, what do you really want? Either you like the foods and you like being overweight and you're comfortable in where you are, but you can't just sit there and complain and expect people to give you all the answers and some magical formula or diet or pill. Because I've had people come out of the woodwork. What is the secret? There isn't one. Eat better and exercise. That's it. That is all there. The same thing the doctor's been telling us for years. Stop buying into the stuff that people commercialize and saying, oh, look at this delicious Yes, that's great. Those foods are delicious, but they're also incredibly unhealthy for you. There's a reason why our country is one of the most obese countries on the freaking planet.
Yeah. And I had an interesting instance about a year ago, after I had lost, I had over 200 lost myself. And someone in the building I worked at, he was on a scooter and he was well over 500 pounds. And he said, what was the secret for your weight loss? I was like, there's no secret.
There's always some secret. It's got to be a secret. You couldn't have done it just through hard work and exercise and dedication. It's about sticking to it. It is about finding what your motivation is. And I'll tell you the biggest one. When you're mad or sad, instead of putting food in your mouth, go work out. Work it out instead. Work out your sadness. Work out your anger. I promise you'll thank me for
it. Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. I even said like, just go on a walk, right? Just go on a walk. Like, you don't have to,
when I had a bad day or somebody ticked me off or made me feel bad or broke my heart or whatever it was, I'd get on the treadmill. I'd get on the bike. I'd go for a freaking hike. I'd do something. I would work out. I would do something I was like, look, I can either let this thing destroy me and like allow this stuff to make me do bad habits, or I can use this as motivation to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah. And that's the best you can do for yourself. Because then you won't be, because then if you don't do that, then down the road, be like, oh, I wish I hadn't done this, or I hadn't got this part at this point in my life. And now you're doing much better. I mean, obviously, because you're down 100 pounds since June, which is great.
Yep.
And I know the yo-yo of going up and down myself, because I've had that plenty of times. And it's a struggle, because the mindset's the hardest thing for people, because you can get through for a while, and then they see the food that they want, and they're like, and they can't, they go back to it. And I mean, I've done it. Everyone does it, because you're not perfect. But I kind of wanted to shift gears here real quick. And just because we talked about your health, and I was just curious, like, to talk about your voiceover career a little bit. Like, what got you into voiceover? Like, was there a certain thing that started it? I know on your website you discussed it a little bit. I just thought I'd give the audience a little bit of a background into
it. I heard the intro for Voltron, and Peter Cullen's voice was just so freaking cool that I was like, I want to be whatever that voice is that people are like stop and have to pay attention, because it's so awesome.
That's awesome. And I mean, personally, I've been listening. I've been watching Honest Trailers for like a decade, so I've heard your voice plenty myself, and I go to lots of movies. So
Well, the thing is, people only know me for that one thing when they realize that's
yeah.
literally the tip of the iceberg of my career, because
Mhm.
I do so much more than that.
Yeah. I was I remember I saw you because I wasn't there, but I saw like the YouTube videos of like the live from like when they used to do the live trailers
Yep.
at different conventions and such at like Comic Cons, and I was like one day I want to get to one of those, and then it never happens because I'm on the other side of the country and I never get over there. But so your website epicvoice.com, and I know you also do stuff on Fiverr. Is that correct still?
Yeah, I created Fiverr as a fan thing, so I would quit getting freebie requests because I just
Hmm.
don't have the time to do them. And I figured, it'll be a way to raise money, hopefully raise a little money for charity and do something nice for fans. At the same time, I'm not doing it for free and taking up time that I should be doing things for work instead. So, because if like once word gets around that, oh, Jon will record stuff for free for you, people would pull out huge, massive scripts or actual full on professional stuff, commercials. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing a commercial for you for free. Are you kidding me? People start taking advantage.
Yeah.
So you have to protect your brand, and you have to find a way to, so once they understand that money's involved, and then I'm like, well, if you want to do that, I have a commercial rate is this, there's this much money for this and this and this. And then it's like, oh, well, that's going to be $1,000. No, thanks. I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm not going to do it for you for free. It's a literal commercial.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the autism awareness that you give it to part of it to charity. I think that's great. Because
Appreciate it.
myself, I have a brother who is on the spectrum, so it's always good to see people donating to those causes because they're great to get a handle on it, to get more awareness. And like I said, you have your website,
I really
epicvoiceguy.com.
wish you'd stop pushing the website because
Yeah.
it needs to badly be updated.
Okay, I'm
It,
sorry.
it is the site name is correct. It's epicvoiceguy.com, but
Yeah.
it was literally put up by a friend of mine as a
Okay.
temp site. And there's a lot of typos and misspellings, and I'm a grammar Nazi, so I'm just like, ugh, I can't stand even reading my own website. So I
Okay.
need to get on there and update it. My demo is so old on there. It is a site. The best way to find me is to go on socials.
Yeah.
I'm on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter the most, but I do have YouTube and Twitch as well. But it's the name is the same across all the platforms. It's epicvoiceguy.com. Or
Awesome.
not.com, just at Epic Voice Guy.
Epic Voice Guy. Yeah. Yeah. And I will add all those to the show notes of this episode because
I highly doubt that there's going to be a bunch of clients on here that want to go to my website. So if you're just a fan or you're just
yeah.
interested in my story, it's much better to go to my socials instead.
Cool. So yeah, so I kind of wanted to ask one other question about like your career. What is like the coolest like fan moment you've had during your career, like someone you interacted with or did some work with that like really got you excited about doing it?
It was probably getting to work on the Bumblebee movie because I've been such a huge Transformers fan, and Optimus Prime's voice was the one that inspired me to get there. And I had been asked to audition for Optimus for the ADR, which is the temporary audio stuff for the film. But I never take a voice actor's job, because that's just not how I am. And I usually, if I had information, I'll be like, hey, they're asking you to do this. But I double checked with them and they said, no, Peter won't work for that rate. And the budget was a tenth the size of the previous film. And I understood that. And I was like, well, I'd rather it be me than anybody else besides him, because I wouldn't want to give that job up to anybody else but him, because he is that voice and that's his character that he came up with. That's the voice that he came up with originally. It's Hasbro's character, just to be sure. And Optimus Prime is considered a legacy character, which means I'm only one of like a dozen people that have done his voice before in the past. But when you created the voice and came up with it, you tend to feel a little bit of ownership. I mean, it becomes a child to you, So I can understand why somebody would be upset if somebody else was doing that voice. But I was just the temporary voice. I was not the permanent voice. They were always going to bring him in, but just to fill in for that little bit was a dream come true. And then in the process of that, I ended up booking and being the final voices of my all-time two favorite characters, Shockwave and Soundwave. So Optimus Prime's never been my favorite. It's my favorite voice of all time, but he's never been my favorite character. He's my third favorite character. But I got to technically voice all three of them for that film. And then in the final version, one of my biggest bucket list things was to be another Transformers character in something official alongside Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. And that checked off the boxes. And I'm so thrilled, even though it was only for a few seconds that I voiced these two characters. The movie looks insane. That whole scene is just breathtaking. It's gorgeous. Especially if you're a Transformers fan, it's awesome. and then my two favorite characters, and I'm doing the voice for both of them. And that may never happen again, but it's led to a lot of other work. I'm booking a lot of Transformers games, and my roster of characters has expanded to a good dozen Transformers now. So yeah, that was kind of like the biggest deal for me, because there's been a lot of other cool jobs. I got to work in a Ryan Reynolds commercial because of the things I did on socials, and because of Honest Trailers, they had me to come in as the epic voice guy. But then I was like, I do Ryan's voice too professionally, right? The director didn't know that, so I did. He's like, "Oh, you've got to do that for Ryan." And when I talked to Ryan's like, "Oh, I know you do." So he's the one that came up with the concept of like, "Oh, I know what we do." He's like, "Hey, take that line and put it down here." He's like, "John, you know what we're doing?" I'm like, "No, I got you. I know." Everybody else was confused. So he switches. It was originally going to be like the Don LaFontaine spot where it's like her car was totally underwater. It was the old Geico spot.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept was to, movie trailerize what was going on in the commercial. So he's like, this deal is so epic. We had asked Epic Voice Guy to come in and then do it for us. And I did the thing, and he's like, now do me. And then I do his voice at the end. And it's like the room exploded. Nobody else there knew. The room exploded as soon as he yelled cut, and somebody in the back's like, holy crap, it sounds just like Ryan. And then
That's amazing.
Ryan's face, Ryan's reaction to in that trailer, in that commercial, to when I first do because we'd only talked like I'm talking right now. This is my normal voice. And he just never seen me just pop it out, and doing it live, that reaction to him on his face, that was a real look. His face was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he's like, man, do we even need to do it again? That was freaking perfect.
That's awesome. And I love both of those experiences. And just, it also like, the fact that you got to live some dreams there,
It was pretty cool.
Awesome. So kind of wrapping up the show here, because I know it's gone fast. But I like to ask every guest 5 questions. So first question is, what movie, TV show, or event are you most excited for in the coming year?
I don't even remember what's coming, all of what's coming, but I'm definitely interested in Multiverse of Madness, because Spider-Man No Way Home was such a good movie, and I'm just hoping and praying that Deadpool makes a cameo like the rumors say are true, because that would make me wish I wore my brown pants.
I really hope so. I think it's sounding crazier by the minute. Every day there's more leaks or more potential news coming out. So
I totally
I'm
agree.
excited.
As far as shows go, I'm really looking forward to the next season of Invincible, next season of The Boys. Both of those look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So and Arcane, holy crap, Arcane season 2. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I know that they just started production on it, and the first season it's breathtakingly cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for all those as well. Invincible, just the first episode just shocks you, right? So
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, they can improve that. Hopefully, they've made enough money from the first season to improve the animation a tiny bit, because that was my only complaint.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see.
Sometimes it looks amazing, and other times it's like, wow, that was ouch.
Yeah, definitely.
That was like some old school Newgrounds animation right there.
Yeah. All right. Question number 2. What are 2 non-health related goals you have for the next year?
I would love to be a regular recurring character in an animated series, a main character in a video game. I've been NPCs my whole life. It's nice to be playable for once. Nice. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Number 3, if someone came to you saying they were lacking motivation to stay consistent, what 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
I don't know about 3 pieces of advice, but one of them is just to find your happy. A friend of mine, Vanessa Marshall, who's also with my manager and agency, she voices Hera in Star Wars Rebels. She's Black Canary and a lot of DC animated stuff. Mm-hmm. She said that she used to be very, very big in the plus 300 category, and she looks amazing now. And one of the things she had said, I heard this years ago at a panel that she'd done for voiceover, that she just had to figure out how to be happy with herself. And that was one thing that's easy to say, but I could not figure out how to do it. I wanted to be happy with myself. And I realized that I had to make some very, very hard decisions and do some stuff that I did not want to do, because I knew it was good for me, but it's what was necessary to be done in order for me to be healthy and happy. And it does make it, when you have a positive mindset, it makes it so much easier, because all you need is a month. If you can just stick to it of 1 month, you will see results enough to keep you motivated. But honestly, my second piece of advice would probably just be buy clothes that are slightly too small, and you will get motivated to fit into those suckers. I've downsized so many times since June, it's not even funny. Mm-hmm. And the main thing was to buy them a little bit small. And as I would progress, I would notice that the buttons would get closer together, and eventually the buttons would button, and eventually it would get loose on me and the buttons look great. And eventually it's too big for me. And it literally helps you see your progress as you move along. The third one I would just say is just do not give up. Don't quit, because you're never a failure unless you give up. As long as you keep trying, you will eventually succeed. You will never be a quitter, or you'll never be a failure if you decide not to be a quitter.
I like all those, man. Those are great.
They're all kind of related, but they're all kind of a little different too.
Yeah, definitely. Number 4, what have you discovered about yourself during your journey or transformation that surprised you the most?
I'm surprised at how fast it happened, to be honest, because I didn't feel like I put in the maximum effort. I could definitely have, because I didn't work out nearly as hard this time. Because the funny thing was, when I lost down to 189 before, that took a year. That took 12 months, and I was working out at the gym for probably 3 to 4 hours a night. And I would do an hour or so on the treadmill in the morning. I would just walk and walk and walk, and then as much as I could stand it, I would run. And then the last couple of minutes, I would just sprint as fast as I could until I just couldn't anymore. And then I would do a cool down walk. So that was my morning routine. And then nighttime, I would just go in and do weights, and I would take only one day off. And it took me 12 months to get down to 189. And this time it took 7 months, and all I did was hike and ate better. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's that saying that the abs are made in the kitchen, right? So
well,
it's all what you put in.
I had better muscle tone and better muscle definition because I'd been doing so much weights previously. But as far as just pure fat loss, this has definitely worked out better for me.
Awesome. All right, last question. It's kind of a fun one. If in 150 years science fails to save us and all that is left is a book about your life, what would the title be, and what would the blurb tell us about Jon?
Probably say never give up, never surrender. The story.
Love it.
The story of how I gained and lost and gained and lost and gained and lost.
Awesome. Well, Jon, I appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, we'll put all the links to your socials in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening or watching this episode all the way to the end. You made it. Congratulations. Make sure you check out the show notes. Check out my website, becomingbrett.com, which is also severely behind being updated.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. Everyone can follow me at Becoming Brett on Instagram and Twitter. Show up Becoming More Pod on Instagram. Next time, give us a 5-star review until next time. And make sure you come back next week to see how we can all become more.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.